Hi, I'm Callie and welcome to my kitchen. In this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to make caramel sauce. There's two different methods for making caramel. There's dry and wet. With the wet, you add water and sugar and dissolve the sugar, and then you have to boil all of that water out. You need a thermometer and you have to worry about crystallization. I don't like to do all that. I like the dry method where I melt the sugar and then add the cream at the right part. When my husband and I were first hanging out as friends, I taught him how to make this caramel sauce, and it was so easy. He went out the next day and bought some ball jars and made caramel sauce and kept it in the fridge after that. We still keep it in the fridge because there's so many things we use it for. We like to warm it up and drizzle it over ice cream. You can take spoons of it and put it in brownie batter and run a knife through and have caramel brownies. You can add salt to it and have salted caramel. It's really good on anything that you use caramel for. You can use this sauce. I like to add vanilla to the recipe and use a spoon of it in my latte in the morning and have a caramel macchiato. Saves me quite a few dollars that way. I'm just making a small amount to fit in this jar, so I'm going to use 1 cup of sugar and 6 ounces of cream. If you're using the metric system, that's 250 grams of sugar and 190 milliliters of cream. When you're making caramel or candies or cooking with sugar, you want to get everything ready beforehand, because once that sugar is melting, it's too late to go get your pan to put it in or your jar ready. You have to move fast. I went ahead and warmed my cream up because I want it ready once that sugar melts and it's ready for it. You don't want to add cold cream because it'll spit and sputter everywhere and you're liable to burn yourself or have the pan overflow. I am using a 3-quart pot for this small amount of sugar because even with this warm cream, it will bubble up. Before I turn my burner on, I'm actually going to put the sugar in. This is 1 cup of sugar, or 250 grams if you're weighing. And mine has some lumps in it, so I'm going to mash these lumps out, because as I found out the hard way, the lumps will not melt as fast as the rest, and then it will burn before all of it's melted. I'm using a gas burner, so it's hot right away and will be off of the heat as soon as I turn it off. I'm turning it on a medium heat. I have everything ready, so I'm going to start. I want to put this where you can see as it melts. Sometimes I've stirred it and I wind up with it clumped on the spoon, and then I have to cook it off, but then I've also tried not stirring it, and sometimes some of it will burn before all of it melts. So we'll see what works this time. Once you turn this burner on, you have this sugar on the burner. Do not walk away. That you have to stand here the whole time, because once this gets going, it is going to move quick. It is going to move fast. Which one's right? If you were using the wet method and you have water in here, you could use a candy thermometer and have it in the side. Mine broke during the last move and says it's 200 degrees in here, so I don't think that's right. It's definitely not 200 degrees Fahrenheit in here, right? But you could have that here and you would have a little more time to work or do what you need, but you still want to have everything ready. With the dry method, you have a lot less time. But that's also why I like it, because it doesn't take as long and there's not as much guesswork to when it's done if you don't have a thermometer. I was amazed the first time my grandma taught me how to do this or showed me how to make caramel, because I did not know that sugar would melt. I thought sugar only dissolved. I didn't know it would melt. Once sugar is hot enough to melt, it is very hot. And I know I say to taste your recipes all the time, but this is not one of those you want to taste while it's cooking. When sugar is that hot, it will burn you very quickly and stick to your burnt finger or tongue. Want to know how I know? It may look really good and it may smell really good, but wait until it is cooled to test it. And as you see, it is starting to melt, so I am going to go ahead and stir this a little. I don't want it to burn in places before the rest of it melts. You have to melt it off of the spoon like what's in the pot. So basically, with caramel, once the sugar is melted, you basically cook the sugar to the color that you want it. The darker the color of the caramel, the more of that burnt sugar taste it will have, and the stronger the caramel flavor will be. But you don't want it too dark because you don't want to actually burn the sugar. I'm going to mix this off my spoon. I'm going to melt it off my spoon. And I think that's a good color right there. So I'm going to turn this heat off. If you're using an electric burner, take it off the burner. I want to melt it off my spoon. There it goes. And then I have hot cream still. It's still pretty warm. That I'm going to add into this. I'm going to let that cool so I don't burn my hand. And then I'm just going to stir this in. Since I like to use mine with caramel macchiatos, I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla. About a teaspoon. Make sure you're using higher quality vanilla that's alcohol and doesn't have a lot of water in it. Because water in your caramel will change the consistency. You can add a couple of tablespoons of butter or 30 grams of butter and stir it in at this point. Just until it's melted. It will make it a creamier consistency at room temperature, but will make it harder in the refrigerator. Since we use ours in the refrigerator and just scoop some out, I'm going to try it this way and see if it winds up softer. If you like salted caramel, now's a good time to add a little bit of salt on it. Or you can wait until it's a little cooler on something and add salt on top of it. I'm using a ball jar or mason jar, so this is made for heat, so that it's cooled off enough that it's perfectly fine for this jar. This jar is not ice cold though. You want to use something that is made for heat though, because this sugar is hot. This is a rubber spatula that is made for very high temperatures. I wouldn't use one of the cheap dollar spatulas doing this, but I am going to use this because I know it can handle this heat. And I want to get all that hot caramel or cooked sugar off of the side of the pan, because when it cools, it's a little harder to get off. As tempting as it is, do not lick that spoon or this spatula or stick your finger in this pot yet. Wait until it cools. Once this cools, any that's stuck, you can run under hot water and it will come right off because it's just cooked sugar. I put the lid on and put it in the refrigerator, and it's good for weeks. And I don't want to tell you how long I've had it in the refrigerator and still eating it. But I'm just going to set that aside and let it cool while we get all this cleaned up. It has cooled for a few minutes. It's still hot to the touch. It's a nice runny consistency while it's hot. It will firm up some once it's cool, but it won't be hard. It'll still be a caramel sauce. If you want it thinner than this, you can add up to 4 ounces of cream or even milk to really thin it out and have a runnier sauce. If you want something that you can pour easily into a cup, into your latte or whatever you'd like to use it on. I like it this consistency usually. I think it's a good consistency. It's stronger this way, and I don't need as much of it really. But it's probably... No, that's cool enough to taste. Still pretty hot. I cooked this one pretty dark, so it does have that nice burnt sugar taste, or a stronger burnt sugar taste. You can always cook it. As soon as it melts, turn it off, put the cream in, and have a lighter caramel and not as strong. But I like the strong because I do like it in my coffee or with brownies or something that I want the stronger flavor. If you like this video, go ahead and give us that thumbs up and subscribe if you hadn't already, so we'll have some more videos out soon. In the meantime, y'all have a good one. I think I accidentally did mukbang.